The Awakening. Dr. Maya Reeves stared at the night sky from the roof of the Berkeley Neuroscience Institute, watching as the strange lights grew larger. The distant points had appeared 3 days ago, triggering global panic that had since given way to anxious anticipation. She should have been terrified like everyone else, but instead she felt an odd sense of clarity. "You're still up here." Dr. Julian Frost appeared at her side, his voice tight with stress. "The dean wants all department heads in the emergency meeting. They're saying first contact could happen within hours." Maya nodded but didn't move. "Go ahead. I'll be down in a minute." Julian hesitated. "You're weirdly calm about potential aliens, you know that." "Panicking won't help us understand them," Maya replied, eyes still fixed on the approaching vessels. She didn't understand her own composure, but throughout her life, crisis had always brought unusual mental clarity where others experienced fear. Julian departed with a concerned glance, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts. At 37, she had become one of the world's leading experts in neuroplasticity following her own miraculous recovery from a traumatic brain injury at age 12. The accident that should have killed her instead rewired her neural pathways in ways that fascinated the medical community. The ships were close enough now to make out details, sleek, silver-blue vessels that moved with impossible grace. Their design was both organic and geometric, suggesting an aesthetic that human engineers had never conceived. Maya's phone vibrated. A text from the dean. Dr. Reeves needed immediately. Government requesting specialized neurologists for contact team. 30 minutes later, Maya found herself in a hastily organized motorcade speeding toward Golden Gate Park, where the primary vessel had settled. The government representative beside her spoke rapidly into her earpiece. "They call themselves the Centauri. Translation software indicates they're known throughout local galactic clusters as peacekeepers. They've specifically requested scientific representatives with expertise in cognitive sciences." Maya processed this silently as military helicopters circled above the gleaming ship that now dominated the San Francisco skyline. "How many species have they contacted before us?" "Hundreds, apparently. They lead some kind of interstellar coalition." The motorcade stopped at a military perimeter. Beyond it, a small delegation had already emerged from the ship and was surrounded by officials. Maya's breath caught. The aliens were breathtaking. Tall and slender with luminescent blue-silver skin that rippled with subtle patterns like sunlight through water, they moved with fluid grace. Their four-fingered hands gestured elegantly as they communicated with Earth's representatives. As Maya approached, she noted the differences between the 5 Centauri present. Their leader stood tallest with deeper blue markings across what appeared to be a face with no nose, just dual breathing slits and eyes like pools of liquid mercury. The worldwide broadcast was already underway. Maya watched as President Garza extended his hand, and the lead Centauri placed his palm against the president's instead. The president's expression transformed instantly, tension melting into wonder, then serene acceptance. "We welcome the Centauri to Earth," he announced, his voice carrying a new melodic quality. "They come in peace, offering knowledge and advancement." One by one, world leaders and selected representatives approached the aliens. Each brief touch resulted in the same transformation, doubt vanishing, replaced by calm certainty. Maya observed this pattern with professional interest. When her turn came, she stepped forward with scientific curiosity rather than apprehension. The leader inclined his head. "I am Exarch Velar, primary emissary of the Centauri confluence. Your mind awaits harmony." His hand extended toward her forehead. Maya remained still, waiting for whatever transformative experience had affected the others. Instead, Velar's mercury eyes widened dramatically. He staggered backward, slender fingers clutching his temple as a luminous blue liquid. Blood, Maya realized, trickled from what must be auditory organs on the sides of his head. The other Centauri moved to support him, their harmonious voices rising in obvious alarm. Maya felt nothing but a slight pressure behind her eyes, like the precursor to a headache that never materialized. The broadcast cut abruptly. Military personnel surrounded Maya immediately, their expressions oscillating between suspicion and confusion. The Zentari conferred rapidly in their musical language as Villar recovered his composure, wiping the blue streak from his face. "What happened?" Maya asked the nearest official. "What did I do?" Before anyone could answer, Villar approached again, maintaining careful distance. "You resist harmony," he stated, his English perfect despite the alien structure of his mouth. "This has not occurred in any species we have encountered." "I don't understand," Maya replied. "I wasn't resisting anything. Yet your mind remains closed to us." His head tilted with obvious fascination. "We must understand this anomaly." Within hours, while the world celebrated peaceful first contact, Maya found herself isolated in a secure facility beneath the Presidio. Through a one-way mirror, she watched her colleagues from the original delegation. They moved with subtle synchronicity now, their expressions serene as they discussed humanity's bright future with government officials. "Your colleagues have accepted the Zentari's gift of harmony," explained a stone-faced General Chen. "They're helping us prepare for integration into the galactic community." Maya observed Julian among them, his normally skeptical expression replaced with placid certainty. When he spoke about the Zentari's advanced neural technology, his voice carried the same melodic quality she'd heard in the President's. "They're being controlled," she stated flatly. "The Zentari call it guided unity," corrected a new voice. Villar entered with 2 Zentari scientists. "It brings understanding without the inefficiency of traditional communication." "And why am I immune to this unity?" Maya asked. Villar studied her with those reflective eyes. "We intend to discover that. Your species represents something unexpected." As if on cue, the Zentari scientists activated a device that emitted a soft pulsing light. Maya felt pressure build behind her eyes, but nothing more. "Fascinating," one scientist noted. "The harmony amplifier has no effect." Villar's skin rippled with colors Maya couldn't interpret. "We require your medical history, Dr. Reeves. Immediately." Hours later, Maya watched Villar examine her medical records with growing agitation. His finger traced the brain scans taken after her childhood accident, an injury that should have killed her, but instead rewired her neural pathways in ways medical science couldn't fully explain. "This pattern," he murmured. "It shouldn't be possible." Maya's eyes narrowed as she caught something unexpected. When Villar's agitation peaked, Julian briefly shook his head as if fighting through fog before his expression smoothed back to serenity. "The High Council must examine this anomaly directly," Villar announced, his tone leaving no room for debate. "Prepare for transport to our vessel." As guards approached with a sedative, Maya locked eyes with Julian. For just an instant, she saw a flicker of his true self, confused, frightened, fighting to surface, before vacancy reclaimed him. In that moment, Maya understood 2 critical facts. The Zentari control wasn't absolute, and something about her presence weakened it. The needle slid into her arm, but as consciousness faded, determination crystallized. She was humanity's immune response, and now she needed to understand why. Maya awoke in a sterile chamber that appeared both clinical and somehow organic in design. The walls curved seamlessly into ceiling and floor, illuminated by a soft light with no discernible source. Her head throbbed with the remnants of sedation. "The subject is conscious," announced a melodic voice. Maya turned to find 3 Zentari observing her. Unlike Villar's regal bearing, these 3 wore what appeared to be scientific attire. Form-fitting garments with embedded crystalline instruments. Their skin tones shifted through cooler spectrums of blue and silver. "Where am I?" Maya asked, sitting up cautiously. "A compatibility assessment chamber," replied the tallest of the 3. "I am Milara, neural specialist. These are my associates." The Zentari didn't bother introducing the others, as if they were extensions of herself rather than individuals. "Assessment for what?" Maya swung her legs over the edge of the examination platform. "To understand your aberration," Nilara approached, her movements liquid and precise. Your mind resists harmony in a manner unprecedented in our records, spanning thousands of years and hundreds of species. Maya straightened her shoulders. I'd like to speak with someone from Earth. That can be arranged. Nilara replied with a gesture that might have been dismissal or acceptance. First, we must complete initial evaluations. What followed were hours of increasingly invasive tests. They began with simple questions while instruments measured her brain activity. When these yielded nothing unusual, they progressed to exposing Maya to various frequencies of light and sound while attempting psychic contact. Each attempt left the Zentari scientists more frustrated and Maya more determined to understand what made her different. During a brief respite, Maya was permitted to use facilities that suggested the Zentari had studied human physiology but missed subtle details of comfort. Through the corridor, she glimpsed a large chamber where dozens of humans sat in perfect stillness, their expressions vacant as Zentari scientists moved among them, occasionally touching their temples. Among them was Julian. When she returned, Veller had joined the scientists, his gaze fixed on Maya, with an intensity that made her skin prickle. The High Council is most interested in your case, Dr. Reeves. No species has ever demonstrated natural immunity to our harmony. Perhaps you've never encountered humans before, Maya replied evenly. We've tested 47 of your kind, Nilara interjected, gesturing toward a wall that became transparent, revealing the room Maya had glimpsed earlier. All respond normally to harmony. Only you resist. Maya watched in horror as her colleagues performed synchronized movements at the slightest gesture from the Zentari researchers. Their faces showed neither distress nor awareness of their manipulation. You're controlling them, she whispered. We're harmonizing with them, Veller corrected. Your species' consciousness is remarkably adaptable, though chaotic. Most humans align quickly with our neural patterns. Maya's scientific mind raced past her fear. But not me. But not you, Veller agreed, his skin rippling with colors that suggested fascination. We must understand why. A junior Zentari entered carrying a device unlike the others, more angular, almost threatening in design. Nilara took it reverently. The harmonic amplifier, she explained. It enhances our natural abilities 1,000-fold. Even partial blockers cannot resist its influence. Maya tensed as they positioned the device near her head. A high-pitched hum filled the room as the crystals embedded in the machine began to glow. Commence maximum synchronicity, Veller ordered. Pain lanced through Maya's temples. Not the tickling pressure from before, but genuine discomfort. She gritted her teeth, refusing to show weakness as pressure built behind her eyes. The Zentari leaned forward in anticipation, their skin rippling with excitement. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain vanished. The amplifier's crystals cracked with a sound like breaking glass, and all three Zentari staggered back as if struck. Impossible. Nilara gasped, blue blood trickling from her auditory organs. Maya felt a surge of something unexpected. Not just resistance, but power. For just an instant, she sensed the Zentari presence in her mind, like shadows at the edge of light. And then they were gone, forcefully ejected by something within her. Veller recovered first, wiping the blood from his face. Your brain exhibits recursive feedback loops that render our harmony techniques ineffective. We must understand if this is replicable. And if it is, Maya asked, already suspecting the answer. Veller's mercury eyes fixed on her, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Then you represent the first threat the Zentari confluence has faced in 2,000 years. In the silence that followed, Maya realized with perfect clarity that she was no longer just a scientific curiosity. She was a weapon they didn't yet understand. And neither did she. The liberation. Maya's first glimpse of the Zentari mothership stole her breath. From orbit, the massive vessel resembled a crystalline nautilus, spiraling segments glowing with inner light against Earth's blue backdrop. As the shuttle approached, she realized each segment housed distinct ecosystems visible through transparent sections, miniature worlds preserved within the ship. The confluence, Valar announced with unmistakable pride. Home to 12,000 Zentari and representatives from 47 species. It's beautiful, Maya admitted, scientific curiosity momentarily overshadowing her situation. Beauty and function in harmony, Valar replied. Much like the peace we bring to chaotic worlds. The shuttle docked in a crystalline hangar where a delegation awaited. At their center stood an ancient Centauri, skin barely shifting through pale blues and silvers, eyes like burnished platinum. This was Archon Cineris, the elder scientist Maya had heard mentioned with reverence. The anomalous human, Cineris stated, voice carrying harmonics that made the air vibrate. I have studied your preliminary data. You represent a most fascinating deviation. Maya met the ancient alien's gaze directly. I'd prefer Maya to anomaly. Cineris's skin rippled in what might have been amusement. Designation preferences noted. Fabo. The journey through the confluence revealed a marvel of bioengineering. Corridors shifted to accommodate their passage, lighting adjusting to Maya's human vision without command. Alien species moved throughout, some humanoid, others defying categorization, all executing tasks with perfect coordination. Too perfect, Maya realized. She observed subtle patterns. The synchronized blinking among a group of amphibious beings, the identical head tilts of arthropodal workers, the way conversations paused simultaneously when Centauri passed. Not the coordination of choice, but of control. They arrived at a laboratory unlike anything on Earth, a dome of living crystal overlooking the stars, filled with technology that seemed to breathe. Cineris gestured Maya toward a central platform. Your neural structure will be mapped completely, the ancient Centauri explained. It is a painless process. And if I refuse? Maya challenged. Why would you refuse advancement of knowledge? Cineris seemed genuinely puzzled. The confluence exists to understand and harmonize. Maya reluctantly complied, lying on the platform as crystalline instruments descended. True to Cineris's word, the scanning was painless, a tingling sensation as light danced across her skin. Extraordinary, Cineris murmured, studying the resulting neural map. Your brain's architecture demonstrates feedback patterns I've only theorized. The childhood injury rewired your predictive pathways, creating recursive shields against external synchronization. Meaning what exactly? Maya asked. All consciousness resonates at specific frequencies, Cineris explained. The Zentari evolved the ability to harmonize with these frequencies, guiding them toward optimal patterns. Your mind, however, creates continuous pattern shifts, a moving target impossible to synchronize with. Is this unique to humans? Maya pressed. Before Cineris could answer, a small Zentari burst into the laboratory, skin flashing excited yellows. Unlike the measured movements of adult Centauri, this one bounced with unrestrained energy. Talith, Cineris scolded gently. You interrupt crucial research. Apologies, Elder, the young Centauri replied, eyes fixed on Maya. I wish to observe the immune human. Maya smiled despite herself. The child's excitement seemed genuinely unguarded, refreshingly authentic compared to the calculated control of the adults. Your mind creates its own barriers. Talith whispered when Cineris turned away. Like the ancestral Zentari before the Great Ascension. Maya's interest peaked. Great Ascension. Talith nodded eagerly. Before we learned to harmonize thoughts, when Zentari were prey, hunted for our early psychic abilities. Our histories say we once had chaotic minds like yours. Until. Talith. Cineris's rebuke cut sharply across the room. You speak of restricted history. Sorry, Elder. The child retreated, skin paling to submissive blues. Maya filed this information away carefully. The Zentari had evolved from prey species. They had ascended from their natural thought patterns. What else had been sacrificed for their perfect harmony? Given quarters to rest, Maya was permitted limited exploration of public areas. In the ship's vast central atrium, a stunning garden from a dozen worlds, she observed the diverse species of the peaceful coalition. Each time Zentari entered an area, the behavior of nearby aliens suddenly shifted. Conversations becoming more enthusiastic about Zentari wisdom, movements becoming more synchronized. When the Zentari left, the facades occasionally slipped. Maya witnessed a crystalline being deliberately carving what appeared to be patterns into decorative fixtures. Desperate communication, or perhaps just an assertion of self-will. When the being noticed Maya watching, it froze in terror. She approached slowly, offering help for the leaking golden fluid from its wound. "Your mind is your own," the alien whispered in halting English as she tended its injury. "You still dream your own dreams, yes." Maya confirmed quietly. The being's crystalline features shifted in what might have been desperation. "They feed on us. Our minds, our will." Its voice lowered further. "You're the first hope we've had in millennia." Before Maya could respond, the alien straightened abruptly, expression blanking, as three Zentari entered the atrium. It moved away mechanically, joining others of its kind in tending the garden. That night, Maya lay awake in her quarters, processing everything she'd witnessed. The perfect harmony of the Zentari collective was built on psychic subjugation. Their peaceful coalition was an empire of minds stripped of autonomy. Her door slid open without warning. Viller entered, his silver eyes gleaming in the dimness. "Your quarters are monitored," he stated without preamble, skin rippling with colors she was learning to recognize as suspicion. "Your interaction with the Lithosian was noted." Maya sat up, refusing to be intimidated. "Is speaking to others forbidden?" "Speaking, no. Fermenting disruption, yes." Viller moved closer. "The High Council tasks me with determining whether you represent a unique anomaly or a species-wide threat to galactic harmony." "And what have you determined?" Maya challenged. Viller studied her, his expression unreadable. "That you are the most dangerous being I have encountered in 7 centuries of existence, and the most fascinating." As he left, Maya understood the precariousness of her position. She wasn't just a scientific curiosity. She was a threat to their entire system of control, and they were beginning to realize it. Maya woke to the sensation of a hand clamped over her mouth. She thrashed instinctively until her eyes adjusted to the darkness, revealing an impossible sight. Julian Frost looming over her bed. "Quiet," he whispered. "I don't have much time before they notice my absence." Maya nodded slowly. The hand, trembling slightly, withdrew from her mouth. "Julian, how are you here? How are you? Yourself." "Your disruption field," he explained, his voice barely audible. "During testing, when you shorted out their amplifier, something broke in their control over me. I've been fighting it ever since, pretending to still be under their influence." "Disruption field?" Maya questioned. "That's what they're calling it." Julian's eyes darted nervously to the door. "Your brain doesn't just resist their harmony, it actively disrupts it. The closer someone is to you, the harder it is for the Zentari to maintain control." Maya processed this revelation. "Is that why they've isolated me?" "Yes. And it's why they're planning solution genesis." Julian pulled a small crystalline device from his pocket. "I stole this from the research lab. It contains their plans for Earth. They're not peacekeepers, Maya. They're parasites." He activated the device, projecting a holographic schematic. Maya watched in horror as it detailed a global network of harmony nodes to be installed in Earth's major water sources. "Mass psychic subjugation," she whispered. "They've done this to dozens of worlds," Julian confirmed. "The Zentari don't just control minds. They feed on them. Consciousness itself is the resource they harvest. The more complex the mind, the more potent the energy." A distant alarm suddenly wailed. Julian's expression tightened with fear. "They've discovered my absence. We have minutes at most. We have to escape," Maya insisted. "Warn Earth." "Not yet." Julian took her hands. "There's a resistance. Beings who have developed partial immunity through breeding programs or neural training. They call themselves the Unbound. They've been waiting for someone like you." Someone like me. A natural disruptor. They believe you could be the key to breaking the Zentari control permanently. A crash echoed from somewhere down the corridor. Julian pulled Maya toward what appeared to be a solid wall, pressing an intricate pattern. The wall liquefied, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel. The Zentari don't maintain their own systems, Julian explained, folding his frame to enter the passage. They consider it beneath them, a critical oversight. They navigated a labyrinth of service corridors, climbing through sections where artificial gravity weakened. Maya lost all sense of direction until they emerged into a spherical chamber buried deep within the infrastructure of the ship. Unlike the elegant organic spaces of the Zentari, this room was utilitarian, cobbled together from salvaged components. Most shocking were its occupants, at least a dozen different alien species, all watching her with expressions ranging from hope to suspicion. The human disruptor announced a tall, willowy being with translucent skin through which complex circulatory systems pulsed. "I am Verisek." Maya studied the alien with surprise. Despite obvious physiological differences, Verisek's facial structure and eye placement suggested Zentari heritage. "You're one of them," Maya realized. "I was," Verisek confirmed. "Before I recognized the corruption of our purpose, I renounced harmony centuries ago." "This is the Unbound," Julian explained, gesturing to the gathered aliens. "Those who have developed partial immunity through breeding programs, neural training, or technological intervention." "Partial immunity?" Maya questioned. "Even the strongest among us can only resist for days before the psychic pressure becomes unbearable," explained a feathered being with avian features. "Then we must retreat to this sanctuary, a psychic dead zone." Maya examined the room more carefully, noting the metallic mesh lining the walls. "Shielding technology. Reverse engineered from Zentari psychic dampers," Verisek confirmed. "It creates the only true privacy in the confluence. Beyond these walls, all minds are open books to the Zentari. Except yours. We've monitored your tests," Verisek continued. "Your natural immunity is unprecedented. You don't merely resist harmony. You disrupt it." "So I've noticed," Maya said, "though I don't understand how. Your brain creates chaos patterns the Zentari can't predict," Julian explained. "It saved me during testing. It created a cognitive dissonance I could build upon. I escaped during transfer to another research vessel." Before Maya could respond, alarms suddenly wailed throughout the ship. Red emergency lighting pulsed through even the shielded room. "They've discovered your absence," Verisek said grimly. "We have minutes at most." "We must show her," insisted the avian being. "The truth about the harvesting." Verisek hesitated, then nodded. "Activate the intercepted feed." A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. Maya watched in horror as the recording showed hundreds of beings in suspension chambers connected to Zentari machinery by glowing tendrils attached to their temples. Energy flowed visibly from the subjects to crystal matrices, where Zentari absorbed it directly. "What am I seeing?" Maya whispered. "The true purpose of harmony," Verisek explained bitterly. "The Zentari aren't merely controlling other species. They are feeding on their mental energy. Consciousness itself is the resource they harvest. The more complex the mind, the more potent the energy," added the avian. "Humans would provide a feast unlike any they've encountered before." Julian stepped forward. "They're planning to initiate solution genesis within 24 hours. We've intercepted fragments of communication." A deafening crash interrupted him as the chamber's entrance imploded. Zentari security forces poured in, wielding crystalline weapons that emitted pulses of disruptive energy. The resistance fighters scattered, some falling immediately to the psychic assault. "They're inside our shields," Verisek shouted. "Evacuation protocol." In the chaos, Maya found herself separated from Julian. A Zentari enforcer cornered her, weapon raised. Terror and rage built within her, not just for herself, but for the countless beings whose minds had been enslaved and harvested. Something snapped loose inside her consciousness. The enforcer staggered back, weapon clattering to the floor as he clutched his head in agony. Behind him, two more Zentari collapsed, blue blood streaming from their eyes and auditory organs. Around her, captured resistance fighters suddenly broke free from their captors, turning on them with renewed strength. Maya stood at the center of a growing circle of Zentari confusion and pain. "She's projecting disruption," the avian shouted, grabbing Maya's arm. "We must move." As they fled through a secondary escape route, Maya caught glimpses of aliens throughout the ship, momentarily breaking from synchronized patterns as her disruption field passed them. For brief moments they tasted freedom, some freezing in shock, others crying out, a few even joining their flight. "Solution Genesis," Maya gasped as they ran. "We have to stop it. First, we need to get you out alive," Verisek responded. "You're no longer an anomaly to study. You're a weapon they fear." Maya processed this as they raced through the ship's underbelly. She wasn't just immune to their power. Somehow, she was its antithesis. And now they knew it too. "Are you certain this is safe?" Maya asked, eyeing the abandoned maintenance sector. Exposed conduits pulsed with energy, and the air carried a metallic tang that made her teeth ache. "Safe is relative," the avian replied with a clicking sound that might have been dark humor. "The Zentari consider this section radioactive after a containment breach centuries ago. Their organic technology can't function here, but we can." Julian was helping Verisek assemble scavenged equipment into what resembled a neural interface. Despite his exhaustion, his eyes burned with purpose. The Resistance had established this makeshift laboratory in the forgotten bowels of the confluence. 8 survivors of the raid huddled together, representing species Maya couldn't begin to classify. All shared the same haunted look of those who had tasted freedom only to risk losing it again. "The Zentari are deploying Void Hunters," Verisek announced, translucent skin pulsing with stress. "They wouldn't commit such resources unless they consider you an existential threat." "Void Hunters?" Maya questioned, settling into the improvised scanning chair. "Zentari who sacrificed physical form to exist as pure psychic energy," Julian explained, adjusting sensors around her head. "Their most powerful weapons against rebellion." "Then we work faster," Verisek said, activating the cobbled-together scanner. "We need to understand how Maya's disruption field functions before they find us." The interface hummed to life, projecting a 3-dimensional model of Maya's brain activity. The Resistance gathered around, studying the chaotic patterns with wonder. "Extraordinary," breathed Verisek, pointing to the swirling complexity of Maya's neural pathways. "Her brain doesn't just resist synchronization. It actively generates counter-frequencies." "Can we amplify it?" Julian asked. "Theoretically." Verisek manipulated the projection, focusing on specific areas. "If we could construct a harmonic inverter tuned to her specific neural pattern, would it free others from control?" Maya asked. "It could do more than that," Verisek replied, eyes shining with something Maya recognized as hope. "It could shatter the entire Zentari control network." The avian being who had introduced herself as Krelte brought forward a salvage Zentari crystal matrix. "This contains harvested mental energy. If we reverse the polarity and channel Maya's disruption pattern, we create a cascading anti-harmony wave." Julian finished, understanding dawning on his face. For 6 hours they worked frantically, adapting salvage Zentari tech to amplify Maya's natural disruption field. Twice they had to move as Void Hunters swept nearby sections, their presence felt as waves of psychic pressure that made everyone except Maya double over in pain. Finally, Verisek stepped back from the completed device, a crown-like arrangement of crystalline filaments connected to the repurposed energy matrix. "It's done," he announced, "but untested. And we have a problem. This will only work from the control nexus, the very heart of Zentari power, where Archon Cineris and the High Council will be," Julian added grimly. Maya studied the device. "Will it hurt the controlled species?" "No," Verisek replied. It will only disrupt the Zintari harmonic control, like waking from a dream. And the Zintari? Verisek hesitated. Those fully committed to the harmony, particularly the elders, may not survive having their psychic network shattered. Their minds have evolved to depend on it. Maya closed her eyes, weighing the moral implications. Is there any other way to free the enslaved species? The silence was answer enough. Then we proceed, she decided, opening her eyes with renewed determination. How do we reach the Nexus? Julian pointed to the ship schematics they'd pieced together. There are maintenance shafts that run directly beneath it. Minimal security because the Zintari rely on psychic detection rather than physical barriers. Which won't detect me, Maya concluded. Precisely. 2 hours later, Maya crawled through the narrow maintenance shaft, the neural amplifier strapped to her back, Julian and Verisek following behind. Above them, they could hear the harmonic voices of the Zintari High Council discussing solution genesis. The human variant shows dangerous potential for immunity. Full deployment must happen immediately, came Veller's distinctive voice. The harvesters are already positioned at all major water sources, another voice confirmed. Once activated, 90% of the species will synchronize within hours. Maya positioned herself directly beneath the central platform, where the ship's schematics indicated the primary harmony amplifier would be located. With trembling hands, she assembled the disruption device according to Verisek's instructions. When activated, you'll have approximately 30 seconds before the Zintari detect the interference pattern, Verisek whispered. The crown must maintain contact with your head for the entire duration of the cascade. Maya nodded, settling the crystalline crown onto her head. It felt cool against her skin, tiny filaments adjusting to make perfect contact with her neural pathways. Ready? Julian asked, his hand hovering over the activation crystal. Maya took a deep breath, thinking of Earth, of billions of minds about to be enslaved, of countless species already under Zintari control. Ready. Julian pressed the crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then pain exploded behind Maya's eyes, not the invasive pressure of Zintari control, but something deeper, as if every neuron in her brain had been set alight. Above them, the council chamber erupted in chaos. Maya could hear screams and the sound of crystalline technology shattering. She gritted her teeth, fighting to maintain consciousness as the device drew more and more energy from her unique neural patterns, amplifying and broadcasting them throughout the ship. The maintenance shaft's ceiling panel suddenly disintegrated, revealing Veller standing above them, his perfect features contorted in agony, blue blood streaming from every orifice. You cannot understand what you're destroying, he gasped, reaching for Maya with trembling hands. I understand freedom, Maya replied, her voice steady despite the pain tearing through her mind. Something you forgot long ago. The amplifier reached full power. The visible wave of energy pulsed outward from Maya in expanding ripples of iridescent light. Where it passed, the ship's organic technology began to fail, systems shutting down in cascading sequence. Veller collapsed, his body convulsing as the harmonic network that had sustained his kind for millennia shattered. Around him,